Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lorelei Shamayo. This is the MeWe Metaphysics and Wellness Fairs for energizing body, mind, heart, and soul. We have events throughout the Northwest and many online, and we interview our practitioners and vendors so you get a chance to know who we are before you meet them at an event. I'm thrilled today to be interviewing Diane Ginta. Diane, it's lovely to be with you. So tell
Oh,
us, what
it's
is
so
it that you
great.
do? That's great. So what do you
I
do?
founder of Shadowland Creative, and that is the place to find your own inner alchemy, your own inner voice, your own inner creative place. And I call myself Dr. D, and I'm a soul doctor, a metaphysician who helps people connect to that space. I started Shadowland Creative during my master's work in developing my own uh, way to get through shadow work and using mythology as that medium, being able to create my own character where I was always the champion of my own story. And so through that, I developed Shadowland Creative, which I have a writing academy as well as do creativity work with clients. Um, and I use different creative methods because everybody's different, but I find that starting with their astrology is a good place. And that's usually the way that I go through and um, I'm able to help people turn their emotional lead into spiritual gold. That's my motto, I guess.
Maybe could
So,
you take me on a little of that path of, I mean, I use archetypes, so I can imagine how you might use the astrology, but how do you use the astrology to link into the next steps for people?
okay, so the planetary celestial beings, I use them as actual archetypes that help us through our journey. And so I use the Hellenistic Wheel of Ages that whatever age you are and whatever metaphysical house that those lessons are occurring in, I will help you to understand the planetary archetypes that are working either to challenge you or help you be the guide through it. And generally, like if you have a stellium in your chart, those people, they're beings in the house with you, they help you to transmute any of those things that are in there that are time to leave behind or take with you, treasures, that kind of thing. So, and again, it's very specific to the person. So some people are, if they're artistic, they like to do creative projects. So maybe I'll have them do, identify their feelings through color and drawing to me what they envision their anger looks like when they're angry, or happiness when they're happy. They become characters, and that mythology is very powerful because it helps the person to be able to understand their own challenges and their own way of their intuition speaking to them. And because that's different for everybody. And even though we have universal symbols, the meaning responses are different. Like tree might mean one thing to you, but a tree means something different to me. So, and learning that, I help people identify how their intuition is speaking to them, to be able to be really confident in when they have that gut feeling or intuitive prompting, that they can trust it, that they can rely on it, that they don't have to second guess themselves, because I think second guessing yourself is really what leads you down the wrong path.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's generally, what I like to give the person: an environment in which they feel safe and there's no judgment. There is just, and we start with right now, like there's no going back. even if I use the karmic astrology, I just explain who the characters are, like your North and South Node, the Chiron, the wounded healer, and how he's here to help you to identify how this is working in your life.
Mm.
And because cycles are very important, because that Chiron wound may happen when you're very young, but not until you're 50 is when it returns to the same house in which you were born. And so it's very profound when it comes back around, that if you've actually been working on that area of woundedness, that you have this amazing release, that it's so it's so wonderful to witness someone being able to transmute stuff like that
Mm.
in their own lives, um it's similar to an Akashic record reading, where I help people to go in and identify different things that might be holding them back. So, and like I said, it's different with each person that I work with, because it depends on where they are at. And, intuitively, I work with
Mhm.
them that way. So,
Yeah, yeah, and the colors behind you and the materials behind you are just so evocative of your work. So, do you work with people in person and you work with people online, and they just have
yeah.
their own materials of whatever they're wanting to do? And
Yes. Yes. So if it's going to be a creative session, generally I like to give them a couple weeks notice about what we're going to be doing. And then, if they have trouble getting supplies or whatever, I have plenty of supplies that I can mail to them if it's someplace far away. Because
Mhm.
some of my clients are in Arizona, because that's where I was when I met Alicia Rose from Rose Composite. And and then I saw her doing a fair, and I just was so enthralled by the whole thing that I was like, oh, I must be involved. So anyway,
Great.
yeah, I don't know where I was, but
That's okay. That's great. That's great. Well, so how did you get started doing this work? You must have been creative your whole life, so that's part of where this all emerged. And then, yeah, and how did you show up working with people? And
I started working with people as just the way life is. People come and tell me their problems, and I would just intuitively know what to say to them or how to help them through it, even if it was just to sit with them and let them blab on about whatever was bothering them. And then be able to share with them my insights, that as they were talking, I would see. I'm very good at seeing people's shadows that are oppressing them, keeping them from whatever their aspirations are. And I feel like that's an immense gift that I've been given, even though when I was younger, I didn't necessarily think that so. But so I, it all started when I got divorced, and then I went back to school and really started to I took philosophy, existential philosophy, and metaphysical philosophy, and that's when the doors started to open up, and I was like, oh, okay, because I felt like I was home all of a sudden,
mhm.
and it was like, oh, now I understand why I'm so weird, and why the regular way people do things aren't for me. And so I really got involved with philosophy and trying to understand that, and using my own creative way to help people to understand their own inner giftedness. And that's where I started to develop it with mythology, because I love mythology. I just find the characters so real, and and they're like us, and so I found a way to connect that with the doing the writing, as well as creating, having people create what they look like when they're fighting a battle, or what they look like, so they can
Mm.
envision how they are, right? And because that's really having that vision of what we want to look like, what we want to be like, is so important to that transpiring and manifesting itself. So
Mhm.
yes, I've always been very creative. I been a career graphic designer. I have since I do graphic design for myself, really, making my stuff. But I don't do it commercially anymore, and I'm very grateful because it's a very competitive field still. Anyway, so that that part of my life is, an asset to what I'm doing now.
Right. It's how you bringing together your various gifts, and that's how you work with people.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Right.
So
And I imagine people come to you with all kinds of different topics, some of them particularly wanting to focus on creativity, but just all kinds of different issues in their life. And these are just simply the modalities that you use in working with them.
absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely. Yeah, from, just people making some kind of transition in their life, or they've lost, have some kind of major loss in their life. Generally, it's like those people gravitate to me. And, if they're having a creative block, not being able to paint anymore or write anymore,
Mm.
that kind of thing. And so, yeah, it's interesting that, the universe, that the different people that they bring to me, because I find it so fascinating in my own work and what I'm doing for my own self to nurture myself. It's like anything I might be working on, I'll have people that come to me that are interested in the same types of things, but needing more information. And so it's just so fascinating. I'm just so happy to have found my spot, right? That place where I find my bliss, that
Mhm.
Joseph Campbell. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Great. Well, if people want to connect with you, how do they do that?
They can go to my website, it's shadowlandcreative.com, or Shadowland Creative Academy uh, .com. And my email is Diane for the number four, Shadowland Creative at gmail.com.
Great. Great. Well, it's been lovely connecting with you. I'm excited to know more about your work myself and to have more people connect with you. So excited to have you at MeWe Fairs.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And for all of you listening and watching, you can find out more about all of our events at mewefairs.com. That's MEWEFAIRS.com. See you soon.